So this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Firewalker 1986. I can get 1 out of 5 stars. I hated this flick. This is a typical canon ripoff of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Terrible. Like King Solomon's Mines, or forget the other canon movie, but it's worse. The movie poster says Chuck Norris, Lou Gossett, Firewalker, The Cannon Group Inc., Golan Globus, J. Lee Thompson, Firewalker, and then it's got the Canon logo. I'm not impressed with this movie poster. By the way, I tried uploading this video a couple hours ago and I was having connection problems again. It only caught the first 7 seconds. I used to have that problem and I would just let it go and move on to my next movie, but I don't do that anymore. Firewalker is a 1986 U.S. action comedy film starring Chuck Norris, Louis Gossett Jr., Will Sampson in his final feature film role, and Melanie Anderson. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. It was directed by J. Lee Thompson, who also did he did Cape Fear. 10 to Midnight, The Evil That Men Do, King Solomon's Mines. This is an exact copy paste of King Solomon's Mines. With Richard Chamberlain, Sharon Stone, and John Rhys-Davies is also in that. Then he also did Murphy's Law, Firewalker, Death Wish 4, The Crackdown, which is probably the best Death Wish of them all, right there. And Kinjite, Forbidden Subjects, Messenger of Death. He's done a ton of stuff, this J. Lee Thompson guy. Anyways, it's written by Norman Aledjem, Robert Gosnell, and Jeffrey M. Rosenbaum. Max Donegan, Norris, and Leo Porter Gossett, down on their luck treasure hunters, team up with Patricia Goodwin Anderson, a psychic with a map to a legendary Aztec treasure guarded by a sinister Firewalker. By the way, Anderson doesn't get naked in this one. There's no nudity. Their journey takes them through a perilous trek through Central America. This is like a kid's television movie. That's how bad it is. Norris set out to create a comedy, but pivoted to Firewalker after connecting with writer Robert Gosnell. Blending action and humor, the film marked his first lighter role, which he described as adventurous and fun, akin to Romancing the Stone, 1984. I didn't find it funny at all. This is supposed to be a comedy. Despite initial skepticism from Cannon's chairman, Norris leveraged his box office draw, and he took the risk, trusting audience reception to guide his future projects. Co-star Louis Gossett Jr. praised his dedication to expanding his range. Filming took place in Mexico in June 1986. Firewalker received mixed to negative reviews, big surprise, with critics frequently comparing it unfavorably to his contemporary adventure films. While some praised its lighthearted tone, blend of action humor, along with its entertaining, easygoing nature and Norris's attempt at comedy, others felt it had a derivative plot, wooden performances, and lackluster production values. And it's got the dumb blonde. The film was one of Cannon's top box office performers in 1986, but it fell short compared to other Norris films, earning just over $10 million domestically. Oh, it's underrated. Karate Man. All right. Distributed by the Cannon Group. Release date November 21st, 1986. Running time 104 minutes, too long. Country United States, language English. Box office $11,834,302. All right. So far, I haven't had any connection issues. Always works the second time around for some reason. Max Donegan and Leo Porter are two seasoned treasure hunters whose adventures rarely result in any notable success. After their latest stint gone wrong, they are recruited by a seemingly psychic woman, Patricia Goodwin, owner of a treasure map. She convinces them that the map leads to a huge stockpile of gold belonging to the Firewalker. She then says that someone or thing else is searching the map, a red cyclops. The map leads them to a cave on a local native reservation. Patricia warns them that the cave is home to old people sleeping. They later discover it is a mass grave filled with skeletons. They find a Spanish conquistador helmet and mural depicting Aztec and Mayan art with an anachronistic date of 1527. As Leo studies the mural, Max finds a ruby pummeled dagger hidden inside a skull. They are ambushed inside the cave by a small group of Merle, and Patricia is taken by one of them. After killing their attackers, Max and Leo confront the kidnapper. Upon seeing the dagger, he screams and throws himself into the pit for no apparent reason. While discussing the nature of the dagger at a local bar, Max, Leo, and Patricia hear from the barkeep about El Coyote, a local that believes himself descended from the Aztecs and also happens to be a one-eyed man with an eye patch. The barkeep also directs them to Tall Eagle, a local native. He tells them that the Firewalker was a powerful being that flew away to walk in the fires of the sun. And he gives Patricia a small bag of magic to protect her. While trying to figure out, Patricia says, "Thank you very much. You're very kind." Well, I'm not getting naked in this film. While trying to figure out where to go next, Patricia stabs the dagger into a map, then faints, giving them a location of San Miguel. Max is later drugged by a woman. El Coyote chants while holding a snake as the woman attempts to murder Max. A chanting Tall Eagle causes Patricia to suddenly wake and rush to Max's defense. She and Leo stop the woman from succeeding. They capture her, but she disappears overnight, and a snake appears in her cell. They travel to San Miguel, and they barter for information. A man named Boggs directs them to a contact in a village named Chajal. Boggs is later seen to have been working for and is killed by El Coyote, dressed as priest and a nun to avoid detection. The trio make it to Chajal, and they find it completely deserted. Local militia chase them in the jungle on foot. They escape, and they make camp for the night. They are found in the morning by a friend of Max's, Corky Taylor, leader of a small group of Central American freedom fighters, who provides them with a vehicle to finish their journey. When they stop that night, Leo disappears. Patricia and Max believe him dead when they find blood and his glasses by the alligator-infested river. The next morning, Patricia and Max find the temple they have been searching for. Inside, they find Leo alive and dangling from a rope, along with El Coyote. He offers Leo in exchange for the dagger, claiming he has no use for the three of them. After suggesting that Patricia can go free, she leaves, and she is sealed in a passageway. El Coyote laughs and explains that he will kill them and sacrifice Patricia to appease the gods and become the Firewalker. Max throws the dagger at El Coyote to kill him, but he catches it and he leaves the chamber. Max rescues Leo as El Coyote prepares to kill Patricia. They reach her just in time. Max shoots El Coyote in the chest, seemingly killing him. Patricia finds the gold by placing the dagger in a slot on the altar, opening a chamber below it. After gathering the gold, El Coyote attacks them. Patricia stabs him in the back with the dagger just as he prepares to kill Max. With El Coyote stunned, Max is able to fight back, kicking him onto the altar. And that's pretty much the movie right there. The ending was stupid, and it was just like the beginning, and there's lack of continuity abounds in this one. For instance, in the beginning, they're in the desert, and then a minute later, they're 5,000 miles away in some bar. Chuck Norris wanted to write a comedy and was recommended to writer Robert Gosnell. Gosnell had written Firewalker, and he showed it to Norris, who decided to make it instead of a comedy. The film was Norris's first comedy, even though it was still an action film. It was described as two guys, a girl, and a Jeep on the road to a fortune in lost Aztec treasure. It's a detour, said Norris. Max Donegan is really the lighter side of Chuck Norris, he added. It's just an open, friendly, warm film with a lot of humor. It has the adventure of romancing the stone and Raiders of the Lost Ark, the humor of the movie Crocodile Dundee, where the situations cause the humor, and the companionship between the two guys like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Norris says that Cannon's chairman, Menahem Golan, showed a little skepticism when Norris first took the film to him to develop. It's not the type of film I'm known for doing, said Norris. But Norris had a 7-year deal with Cannon, and Norris was their leading box office star along with Charles Bronson. Whether I do more lighter type films beyond this one will be determined how Firewalker does, said Norris. The audience tells you what you'll be doing or not doing. Like Stallone, he'll never do Rhinestone again. And I can't find Rhinestone on YouTube, Tubi, or Amazon Prime. There's something on YouTube, but it's not watchable. Let me just put it to you that way. For Rhinestone, Norris knew he was taking a risk. He said, when I got crucified in my first film, Good Guys Wear Black, I went to Steve McQueen. He said, the bottom line is if you get the best reviews in the world and the movie bombs, you're not going to get work. But if it's a huge success, whether the criticism is good or bad, you'll work. The key thing is, does the public accept you? Gossett appreciated Norris's efforts to do comedy and said, I have great respect for what actors call stretch. Chuck had to open up first to allow his atmosphere. It has to do with his desire to stretch. Someone else could have been quite insecure. He chose to open up. He's studying hard and he's serious. Filming took place in Mexico in June 1986. I learned to speak Spanish and I had a pleasant time, said Anderson. Chuck was incredible to work with. Such a nice man. Jay Lee was a character. Some days the heat got to him worse than others. He would get tired and cranky, but we all got along great. At the time, I had no idea the director in The Exorcist was based on him. And even though it was a canon film, I got all the money. Firewalker was released on DVD by MGM Home Video March 22nd, 2005. The film was one of Cannon's strongest performing movies at the box office in 1986. However, it was a relative disappointment compared to other Norris films, earning a little over $10 million. It was ultimately considered a flop, and Cannon went into financial receivership soon afterwards. Golan shouldn't listen to Norris. You should have said, no, you're doing pure action, no comedy. On At the Movies, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert both gave the picture 2 thumbs down. Siskel said Firewalker was one of the most derivative films in years, splicing elements of Raiders of the Lost Ark with Romancing the Stone. He went on saying he believed the movie was probably signed as a deal 1 month after the grosses started coming into Romancing. And that was where the creativity stopped. Ebert said that he would have tried to make a picture that didn't look like a cheap, watered-down, pale, and uninteresting version of all those other adventure movies. In his print review, Ebert gave Firewalker 1 out of 4 stars, wrote the film is a free-form anthology of familiar images from the works of Steven Spielberg, subjected to a new process that we could call discolorization. The film lacked the style, witty dialogue, and magic of the current adventure movies, as it borrowed its closing images from Indiana Jones films, but its press notes optimistically claim the picture is in the tradition of Romancing the Stone. In literature, it's called plagiarism. In the movies, it's called homage. Kevin Thomas of the LA Times enjoyed it. He explained, Firewalker isn't as elaborate or sophisticated as the Spielberg Lucas hit. It is fun, and Norris is loosened up and laid back. Of the cast, he said, really get into the lighthearted spirit of the occasion. He finally thought that it is handsomely filmed in Mexico by Alex Phillips. Firewalker seems to have brought out the best in everyone on either side of the camera. Vincent Canby of the New York Times called the film a bargain basement imitation of such movies as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Romancing the Stone et al. Canby also noted Norris's lack of comedic timing as he stomped on the film's facetious dialogue. TV Guide published a largely negative review criticizing Norris's usual wooden performance, the appalling production values, and the flat, uninteresting writing. The publication also noted Firewalker heavily borrowing elements from other more successful adventure movies, calling it a retooling of Raiders of the Lost Ark as a buddy picture. Rick Bentley of the Town Talk liked it. He felt it had a proper blend of adventure and comedy, and he wrote the production is a lighthearted take off on adventure films with just enough action to keep the film moving at a good pace and enough gags to make certain no one takes the film too seriously. He enjoyed the acting by Norris, Gossett, and Anderson. He felt Norris handled comedy well in his first attempt at it. That's funny. I never laughed a single time. His final thought was, where it is not great, but it never pretends to be. It is a light film, which is entertaining to watch, tend in the process provides a few laughs. You won't get bummed by going to see Firewalker. I am bummed. I feel ripped off, even though it was free on YouTube. A review in Variety said, Chuck Norris's latest outing for Canon suffers from boilerplate scripting, which sabotages what should have been a compelling buddy pick. Not even the estimable Lou Gossett can save this one. Duo moves predictably through a search for gold yarn that is devoid of suspense. Ed Severson of the Arizona Star called it an entertaining turkey, and if you were after a lightweight action flick, you'll get your money worth. He thought the two leads did a good job. He said that during his screening, the audience responded very well to Norris doing comedy. He think that Norris doesn't actually create humor. What he does is lighten up a little, which gets him laughs. His final thoughts were, Firewalker is a perfectly entertaining picture as long as you don't expect everything you see to make sense. Film historian Leonard Maltin seemed to agree, citing the picture as a bomb and noting that if Melody Anderson's hair, which remains perfectly intact throughout, and Sonny Landham's eye patch, which keeps switching eyes, aren't a sign of anything. The movie's own press release described Chuck Norris's character as a soldier of outrageous misfortune. Moreover, on the comedy relief front, Norris brings to mind a now famous description of Yogi Berra playing third base, like a man pitching a pup tent during a hurricane. Arguably Chuck at his worst, but who wants to argue? In a review written by Rita Kempley of the Washington Post, Norris was described as a pleasant galoot that lacked Arnold Schwarzenegger's, a more popular and successful action star, sense of self-parody and comic timing. Kempley felt the fight scenes were fine, but they only emphasized the plotting pace and the moldy plot. A bend of Poltergeist 2, Temple of Doom, and Romancing the Stone. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 8%, based on reviews from 12 critics. On Metacritic, the movie has a rated average score of 37 out of 100 based on 8 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. So once again, we have another canon flick with more fans than movie reviewers. Firewalker, 1986, PG, 1 hour 45 minutes. It's basically a kid's television movie, and it's not funny. There's nothing funny about this thing. The ending was super lame. All right. Gets a mediocre 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 8,200 ratings. Pair of adventurers try to track down an ancient Aztec, Mayan, Egyptian Apache hoard of gold. More like this, Lone Wolf McQuaid, Hero in the Terror, Top Dog, and Invasion USA. Chuck Norris and Louis Gossett Jr. have their stars back-to-back on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Throughout the movie, Coyote's eye patch switches from one eye to the other. This movie is a comedy. Quotes from Max and the General. Max, watch, he'll say something like, "So, gentlemen, we'll meet again." The General, "So, gentlemen, we meet again." Max, "I told you." That's the beginning of the movie, which sort of relates to the end, but nowhere else in the movie can we find the General. TV versions omit the scene in Max's apartment and the fight sequence in the burnt-out town. So this was on television. This is featured in Siskel and Ebert, The Mosquito Coast, Streets of Gold, Crocodile Dundee, and Rated X, 1986. All right. Windu Ever has a review on IMDb dated May 24th, 2006. Here's an alternate opinion of Firewalker from Windu Ever. Gives it an 8 out of 10 and calls it a great comedy adventure. I personally love this movie. I think the interaction between Norris and Gossett is hilarious. Quite a few of the fight scenes are really funny, while still showing good action. One of the best things about this movie is that Chuck Norris isn't perfect in it. His character fights very well. The karate sequences are excellent, but he can't hit the bright side of a barn with a gun, and he isn't particularly bright. For those that hadn't figured it out, this is intentional. I found the imperfect Chuck to be a delightful part of this movie. I thought it was a great spoof of the treasure hunter movies, and its tongue-in-cheek approach was very refreshing. All right. I finally got my review in without any hiccups this time around. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. Karate Man was actually in the chat room a few hours ago. I normally don't see Karate Man in the chat room this early on a Saturday, but he was there. And he said there were connection issues. And he was right. Only got 7 minutes of my video in and then chopped off the other 30 minutes. All right. First on my list is Foreign Correspondent, 1940. Second on the list is Big Town After Dark, 1947. And third on my list is 10 to Midnight, 1983. Those are the next 3 movies coming down the pike, and that's the end of my review. Laters.